So welcome, our brilliant and remarkable colleague Chirag. We so appreciate your consistent leadership and commitment to community economic development. And as always at Setsi, we begin all things by giving thanks to our creator, by giving thanks and acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We acknowledge all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Chirag, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. Hey, everyone. So the name is Chirag Shamdasani. I was born and raised in Nigeria and moved to Canada when I was about 15. And, I've obviously been here a while. So since then, got to fully embrace the Canadian culture, including the North American work ethic, having worked at consulting here in downtown Toronto for a few years. But I really found my passion, when I returned to the continent. I left PwC to, work for a new social business accelerator that we were creating in Tanzania. And that's where I figured out that I really care about finding business and entrepreneurial solutions to solving some of the toughest economic challenges we face. And when I say we, I mean folks on the African continent, where I still feel fully connected to. So I was living in Ghana, West Africa, for the last 4 years, and that's when my partners and I started investing in and supporting African tech companies through Probability Ventures. These are companies that are solving real challenges. And it was an incredible journey in terms of how we learned about these challenges and how we thought about supporting these entrepreneurs to scale some of the problems that they're trying to solve. With the broader mission of thinking about how can Canada play a role, right? So we noticed other actors like US, UK, even Japan, Europe playing a significant role in that space on the continent, but Canada appears missing. So part of our mission at Probability Ventures is also how do we bridge that gap between where Canada and African ecosystems can have mutual driven growth, essentially.
That's incredible. What a journey. Born in Nigeria, worked in Tanzania, lived in Ghana, and investing in tech startups. That's incredible. Absolutely remarkable. I appreciate your body of work and your consistent leadership and diligence. So my next question is, what's inspiring you right now in your work? What has you curious, or what's keeping you up at nights?
So what's inspiring me? I think, like I said, right? I mean, you work with entrepreneurs who are repositioning, some of the most painful challenges people face on the continent into a business opportunity, right? And they're using all their creativity, agility, and passion to solve such significant problems. And it's quite powerful when you're exposed to that, right? And it inspires you to roll up your sleeves and do whatever is needed to make those solutions work, right? So sometimes those solutions on the continent aren't really labeled as social innovation, right? But they really are all social innovations because they're solving real pain points, right? I think if you look at the African continent's trajectory, development aid has tried to solve a lot of these challenges, but has failed consistently, right? Because the models don't work, the incentive structure doesn't work, right? And that's where businesses come in, right? The financial incentives and all the other incentives align to make sure that there's long-term changes driven by these solutions, right? So maybe let me give an example, right? So we are investing in an insurance company in Francophone Africa, right? So typically what would happen in Senegal, Ivory Coast, and other Francophone West African countries would be that if you want to go and get a medical service, first of all, insurance penetration is quite low. But if you do have insurance, let's say, and you want to go and go to the doctor because you're sick, you have to go first to the insurance company's office and wait in line for a few hours to register what your complaint is in a very public setting almost, before you get approval, and then you can then go to your doctor or the clinic or the service you need, right? That's such a massive inconvenience. It also doesn't allow insurance companies to grow, because if I have to process every day X number of people coming into my office, I need that number of staff, and it constrains how I grow. We're investing in a company that's helping digitize that, right? So now people who have insurance access can sit on their mobile phone and just verify online really quickly whether they have access to a particular service or not and get pre-approval. Now they can go to their doctor and their clinic and do the needed service in a much more time efficient manner. And also insurance companies can use this product to grow much quicker and scale the service and provide it to a lot more people on the cost, right? So that's such a significant pain point. And if you go beyond that, within the specific examples that we hear, right? So sometimes you go to doctors and they'll send you to pharmacies that are down the road, where their friend owns and operates it perhaps, and recommends you a drug that the pharmacist will overprice because he knows that the doctor has sent you here and the customer has no other information, right? But on a platform like this, the prescription, you put it in, it tells you where exactly you can get the drug for the most affordable price, and that's closest to you. So some of those menial challenges within that system are also being shifted, right? So I think when you look at examples of solutions like that, that's really what really inspired us to keep going.
Yeah, so my next question, what challenges and barriers do you face in your work? And what are some of the approaches you and your colleagues are taking to overcome some of these challenges and barriers?
I mean, there's a lot. I think we could speak for hours, right? I mean, if you think about the macro environment challenges, if you think about the government policy challenges that the continent faces, the entrepreneurs we work with, tend to face a wide variety of challenges that some of them we can control, some of them we can sort of help tackle, and some of them are basically things that we need to innovate and evolve around. So I won't speak about that. Let me maybe hone on a challenge that's probably more relevant to your audience, right? Thinking about the Canadian perspective. So what we've been trying to do is that understand why Canada isn't playing a role on the African continent that goes beyond aid and goes beyond mining, right? If you look at US, Europe, even Japan, they're all actively investing in African tech because they see the opportunity both of Africa as a market, but also as a driver of innovation that can drive their own growth and their own markets, right? But Canada seems missing in this picture. So what we're trying to do is like, how do we understand and appreciate how Canadians can look into tapping the opportunity? So it's a bit of ignorance, but also being a bit risk averse, right? So we are working to demonstrate the opportunity Africa presents as the last frontier market and how our growing African diaspora sets us up well to drive mutually beneficial opportunities for economic growth, right? This is an uphill, battle, but there are some examples. I just want to give a couple of examples where this is actually happening, right? So we have a Nigerian company that's helping the Canadian government source the right set of employees in the construction industry from Nigeria and help them to get the right visa processing to get here, right? So solving a Canadian challenging, leveraging a company that's based, a tech company that's based on the continent. Similarly, we have a company that is also helping international students from the continent get access to credit. When you have to make a deposit for your rental agreement, or thinking about how do you build a credit history to get further loans, right? So there are already examples how we can leverage our African diaspora, how we can leverage the Canadian values to drive these connections and drive this growth, right? But that's the challenge that keeps us up because it is very hard to make sure Canadians who are generally risk averse and maybe ignorant about the continent, perhaps to no fault of their own, right? A lot of the messaging about Africa development organizations push on us to sort of raise funding, and that gets stuck. So I think our team is really wants to really make sure how we build that connection, so that's not a missed opportunity. Because if you look at Canada's economic growth patterns, it's also stagnant, and we need growth. Africa presents an opportunity for growth. We have the right ingredients, the right set of people, the right set of values to become a partner in that journey. So we're thinking about how do we overcome that, right? So we started as a venture capital firm, and we took only Canadians investors and invested in African tech to expose them. But we now feel like we need to go beyond that. So we're exploring, pilots and collaborative models with like government, with private sector, with institutional investors to help demonstrate the opportunity Africa presents as a market for growth and as a market for innovation. I think that's the challenge that really keeps us up at night, and one we're really trying to overcome that's hopefully relevant for your audience as well.
Absolutely. And I love the way you framed all that for us with deep introspection and just a comprehensive background in terms of all the nuances in the ecosystem. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work?
Yeah, I think supporting the startups that are already in our portfolio, in our network, right? I mean, they're going through some significant challenges. If you look at, the high rate of inflation, currency depreciation on the continent. So it's really critical for us. Our mission is to make sure we support them, to help them grow and thrive, right, despite the challenging environment, because they are the ones who'll be solving real challenges. And then hopefully also building stronger collaboration between Canadian institutions and African tech for both sets of populations in both geographies.
Incredible, incredible. So my next question is, what is your ultimate goal and what does success look like to you and your colleagues?
I think when we reach a stage where there's a strong network of African startups that are thriving significantly to the economy, and they're seeing tangible results in terms of improving people's lives and livelihoods through innovative solutions, right? And seeing Canada being a part of that, right? So I spoke about this, right? So we need to witness a Canadian shift in perspectives towards Africa, recognizing it as a vital partner for economic growth, not only for Africa, but for Canadians themselves, right? So we envision a future where these collaborations between Canadian entities and African tech are commonplace, right? Driving advancements on both continents, right? So, like I said, I think Canada's values and population makes us the right partner, and it would be incredible, right? And from a goal perspective, to see African tech driving growth on the continent with Canada as an equal partner in that journey. I think that would be the vision we would love to make happen a reality.
Incredible, incredible. So do you have any closing thoughts and calls to action for our listeners and our viewers?
So I'm guessing a big chunk of your listening population is Canadians as well. So let me do this, right? Or even North American, right? I think I urge everyone listening to take a moment to explore and understand the immense opportunities that the African continent presents, right? So whether you're an entrepreneur, an investor, a policymaker, or just someone who's interested about the world of technology and innovation, I think there's a role for you to play, right? We encourage you to consider how you can contribute to fostering collaboration or even deepening your own understanding within your network and community, right? So be an advocate for change, right? By challenging stereotypes and outdated narratives about Africa, right? Embrace the role of being a champion for a new narrative that acknowledges the continent's potential and promise, right? I think together as a community, we can shift perceptions and catalyze like meaningful partnerships that not only transform economies, but also build bridges between these two diverse and such connected communities. That would be my call to action.
Incredible, Chirag. It's been an absolute pleasure to know you and know of your work and see the expansion and the visionary leadership. And once again, I just applaud your diligence and your remarkable commitments to community economic development and all the entrepreneurs that you serve. And as always at Setsi, we close this conversation, this interview the way we began, by acknowledging our creator, by giving thanks to the original stewards, the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Chirag, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.